very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Welcome to ASEAN and Focus. I'm Alma Angeles. We're coming to you live from Manila in Thailand. Hello, Gila.
Hello, Alma. Good afternoon. And to all our viewers, I'm Gila Pablo bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region. And today's headlines.
The Philippine Consulate General in New York called on authorities to make streets safer following the assault of a Filipino nurse by a homeless in Times Square.
Naval Forces Western Mindanao, or NFWM, through its Naval Task Force 61's 3rd Boat Attack Division, rescued 4 passengers of capsized speedboat in the vicinity of the sea waters of Sibutu Passage, Tawi-Tawi Province.
And Singapore has announced it is easing coronavirus lockdown restrictions and will allow quarantine-free travel from a number of nations.
A Thai restaurant has taken dining with a water view to the next level. Its customers perch precariously on wooden stools as murky brown floodwater laps at their tables.
First in our news, the Philippine Consulate in New York called on authorities to make streets safer following the assault of a Filipino nurse by a homeless man in Times Square. Take a look. We grieve with the family of our kababayan Marisho, frontliner who died from her injuries after she was knocked down by a homeless man near the Philippine Consulate General in New York on Friday. This according to Consul General El Mercato in a Twitter post. According to a police report, a homeless man identified as Jermaine Foster first grabbed the mobile phone of a 29-year-old woman along West 41st Street and Broadway, and then collided with a 58-year-old Ambrosio, knocking the latter down as he fled. Ambrosio was pushed, fell, and then she cracked her skull when her head hit the pavement. Oncology nurse Maria Ambrosio should have been working at Bayon Medical Center on Saturday night. Instead, her brother said the 58-year-old was surrounded by her family and friends when she was taken off life support. Police said the homeless man, 26-year-old Jermaine Foster, took off, but he was arrested minutes later. In addition to Friday's incident, CBS Local News said Foster was arrested last month in Midtown after he allegedly groped a woman on the street. He was charged with forcible touching and sent to a hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. As for Ambrosio, her family said she immigrated to the United States from the Philippines in the late 1980s and often sent money back home to her family. Meanwhile, Foster is being held and awaiting multiple charges.
Commission on Human Rights, or CHR Chair Jose Luis Martin Chito Gascon, has passed away following his bout with the coronavirus disease 2019 or COVID-19. His family announced Saturday he was 57. Gascon was appointed CHR chair in 2015. European Union Ambassador to the Philippines, Luc Veron, also sent his thoughts, saying the delegation was in shock with Gascon's passing. I quote, "The EU delegation in Manila is in shock with the passing of Chair Chito Gascon, our friend and partner in upholding human rights and dignity for all in the Philippines. Our thoughts and prayers to Chito's family, CHR members, and staff. Chito Gascon's vision will live on," Veron said. French ambassador to the Philippines, Michelle Baucus, said she would remember Gascon as a good friend of France in upholding shared values on democracy and human rights. I quote, Chito Gascon courageously dedicated his life to the defense of human rights and democracy in the Philippines. He was a good friend of France in upholding these shared values. I offer my sincere condolences to his family, friends, and colleagues at CHR. End of quote, according to Baucus in a tweet. Gascon was a political activist and a social reformer with work focusing on human rights, democracy, and governance for more than 3 decades. Before he was appointed CHR chair, he served as a member of the Human Rights Victims Claims Board, the body responsible for administering recognition and reparation programs to the martial law regime's victims, where he held a rank equivalent to the Justice of the Court of Appeals. Gascon also served as the youngest member of both the Constitutional Commission that drafted the 1987 Constitution and the 8th Philippine Congress during the term of President Corazon C. Aquino. Gascon graduated from the University of the Philippines with an undergraduate degree in philosophy, later earned a Bachelor of Laws degree from the same university. He was a Master of Law degree in International Law, Human Rights, Law of Peace, and Settlement of International Disputes from Cambridge University. Not all the 97 aspirants for president, 28 for vice president, and 175 for senators who filed their certificates of candidacy or COCs will make it onto the official ballot for the May 9, 2022 polls. Commission on Elections or COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez said in a radio interview on Saturday, October 9. The same applies to local candidates and 270 party list groups that submitted certificates of nomination and acceptance during the October 1 to 8 filing period. Jimenez said they will strictly scrutinize the COCs to determine the final list of candidates. I quote, "We have different categories of nuisance candidates. First, they filed just to make fun of the system. Secondly, those who filed to create confusion because they have the same names as the more famous candidates. And thirdly, those who have no legitimate intention of running for the elective office filed." End of quote, he explained. He added they are looking at finalizing the list of official candidates by the end of the year. COMELEC data show the applicants for local posts reached 733 for Congress, 281 for governors, 226 for vice governor, 1,951 for Sangguniang Panlalawigan, 4,486 for mayor, 3,968 for vice mayor, and 35,636 for Sangguniang Panglungsod or Bayan. Bangladesh police arrested at least 16 Rohingya refugees in series of raids on camps in Dhaka after the murder of a top Rohingya community leader last week, officials said Sunday. Advocate Mohib Ula was gunned down 10 days ago by unidentified assailants outside his office at Kutupalong, the world's largest refugee settlement in Bangladesh's southeast. His family and fellow community leaders have blamed the Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army or ARSA, a militant outfit behind a series of attacks on Myanmar security posts, saying Mohib Ulah's growing popularity had enraged the group. ARSA has denied any involvement in the murder. The 48-year-old had become one of the most respected moderate voices advocating for Rohingya refugees after nearly 800,000 people fled Myanmar for Bangladesh Cox's Bazar district following military crackdowns on their villages in 2017.
United Nations voiced alarm Friday at Myanmar's military junta deploying heavy weapons and troops to particular townships, fearing for the civilian population. The Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights said the deployment of two high-ranking commanders represented a worrying escalation in the situation there. Let's listen in.
Alarming reports indicate that there has been substantial deployment of heavy weapons and troops by the Myanmar military, the Tatmadaw, over the past few weeks in Kanpedlet and Hakka townships in Chin State, Kani and Moniwa townships in the central Sagang region, and Gangwa township in Magwe. Two high-level commanders have also been deployed to this area, and the internet has been shut down. We are gravely concerned by these developments, particularly given the intensifying attacks by the military that we've been documenting over the past month in these areas, including killings, raiding of villages, and burning of houses, apparently to seek out armed resistance elements and as reprisals against villagers who are perceived to be sympathetic to the People's Defense Forces or ethnic armed groups. There have been reports of mass arrests as well as torture and summary executions. Military clearance operations have involved the use of artillery barrages and airstrikes against villages. The internet shutdowns have also meant that millions of people have lost the means to communicate with each other and to obtain information necessary for their survival.
Last month, Myanmar military spokesman Som Min Chun said opposition groups known as the National Unity Government were trying to destabilize the country but were headed for failure. The spokesman also accused the media outlets of spreading fake news on the situation in Myanmar, according to Reuters. Myanmar's envoy to the UN has called on the UN and its member states to stand with the democratic aspiration of the people of his country. Ambassador Kyaw Mo Tun addressed the UN General Assembly Human Rights Committee in New York on Thursday, and he said the people of Myanmar and the National Unity Government need international support to eliminate military leadership and emerge as an inclusive, democratic, and peaceful country.
Naval Forces Western Mindanao, or NFWM, through its Naval Task Force 61's 3rd Boat Attack Division, rescued 4 passengers of a capsized speedboat in the vicinity of the seawaters of Sibutu Passage, Tawi-Tawi Province in the morning of October 8. Littoral Monitoring Station, or LMS, Bongao, received the information from bulk carrier W Raptors, which was traversing the area at that time, that it noticed a capsized speedboat. LMS Bongao immediately called the attention of the 3rd Boat Attack Division based in Naval Station 1 Magluyan in Panglima, Sugala, Tawi-Tawi. According to the NFWM Public Affairs Officer, after receiving the report, multi-purpose attack craft MPAC BA-488 and BRP-1 Magluyan PC-392 were immediately dispatched to locate and conduct rescue and assistance for the capsized vessel. While underway and establishing communication with the bulk carrier, BA-488 and PC-392 located their spot 7 nautical miles west of Bongao Island, Tawi-Tawi. It was found that the speedboat carrying the 4 passengers capsized due to bad weather and unfavorable sea conditions, and eventually sank along with its light cargoes, leaving the 4 floating in the water for 15 grueling hours. All 4 passengers suffered minor injuries and were exhausted after long hours of floating at sea while waiting to be rescued. They were identified as Hassan bin Sayadi, 59, and Majid bin Ajahun, 46, both Malaysian nationals, while the 2 Filipinos were identified as Jerry Ernie, 35, and Solar de Leon, 40. They came from Sabah and were en route to Bongao via Cebu to aboard their speedboat when the incident happened at around 6 o'clock p.m. on October 7.
News, the armed forces of the Philippines, particularly the Navy, gets a huge boost to defend against aerial threats with the delivery of the Mistral 3 surface-to-air missiles, or SAMs, of its two new frigates last October 8. AFP spokesperson Army Colonel Ramon said on Sunday night the Mistral 3 is the first ever SAM procured by the AFP that would bolster the military's capability to defend the country's territory. The procurement of missile systems, he said, is cost-effective and a reliable addition to a layered defense system capable of denying enemy intrusion and deterring future attacks by external threats. The Mistral 3 was delivered at the Subic Bay International Airport in Bataan last October 8. Procurement and delivery of the Mistral 3 SAMS or SAMS is part of the Philippine Navy Frigate Acquisition Project Lot 2B, which was awarded to the MBDA Missile Systems based in France.
Actor Jake Cuenca will face charges for hitting a police vehicle in Mandaluyong City and a steel barrier when he tried to escape on Saturday night. Based on a report of the Mandaluyong City Police Station, the incident happened along Silangan Street near Pantaleon Street in Barangay Barangka Ibaba at around 8:30 p.m. Let's listen it.
We consulted to our lawyers. We also have trust of the lawyers. Pwede nilang in custody yung mga light offenses, similar like that. So, they will just deliver the first suspect pag-inquest. However, ang nangyari ngayon, ito yung development. I consulted the office of our city prosecutor. We will be filing the case in a regular filing.
Cuenca's vehicle hit the left side of the police patrol car and rammed a barrier. Eastern Police District Director Brigade General Matthew Bakay, in a radio interview on Sunday, said the police were conducting anti-illegal drug operations in the area when Cuenca's vehicle passed by. Bakay said the police had to disable the vehicle by shooting at it. The Mandaluyong City Police is attending to the needs of the rider, who is already in stable condition. Another examination will determine if Cuenca was under the influence of alcohol. No illegal substance or materials were found in the vehicle that is now under police custody.
In other news, the Communist New People's Army, or NPA, even on Indigenous Peoples Month, continues the annihilation of tribesmen who do not support its causes. Such was the case of Boy Magda Astudillo, 47, a member of the Manobo tribe and a resident of Sitio Inandan, Barangay Magroyong in San Miguel, Surigao del Sur. Astudillo was with his 11-year-old son when he was killed by NPA insurgents on Saturday, October 9. We value much the celebration of IP Month this year, but these irrational rebels disturb our tribes amidst this commemoration as they terrorize our communities and kill our helpless civilians. That, according to Dato Rico Maca, the IP mandatory representative of San Miguel Town, and he told this to Philippine News Agency on Sunday, October 10. He said 3 heavily armed rebels, 2 men and a woman, attacked Astudillo. The Surigao del Sur Police Provincial Office, or SDS-PPO, confirmed the killing in a report on Sunday. SDS-PPO Director Colonel James Goforth, in a phone interview on Sunday, said a follow-up investigation is being conducted to determine the identity of the suspects. And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. Gila and I will be back right after this break.
Araw-araw sa panahon ngayon, may daming tanong kailangan ng tugon. Nandito si
Ano sa palagay nyo? Abangan! Simula October 18, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 8 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga. Mapapanood sa Net25 TV, Facebook page and YouTube channel. Mapapakinggan din sa DZEC 1062 at Eagle FM 95.5.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. Random antigen testing to be carried out among school children in Thailand. More details from Veronica Carino, our EBC Thailand correspondent. Veronica.
Hello, good afternoon, Gila, and to all of our viewers. Yes, random antigen testing will be conducted among school children before the new school year begins in November, according to Rachada Dandirek, Deputy Government spokeswoman. The test will be administered every 2 weeks to 10 to 15% of returning students, as well as other children aged 12 to 18, some of whom have been vaccinated. Ms. Rachada stated that the antigen test would boost students and parents' confidence and ahead of the start of on-site classes on November 1. Since the start of nationwide Pfizer immunization for people aged 12 to 18 on October 17 or October 7, 150,190 people have received their first dose, with 1,825 receiving both injections. There are approximately 5 million people aged 12 to 18. 3.8 million of them have been targeted for vaccination. Ms. Rachada went on to say that the government was aware that some young people were concerned about their safety. Some people took to the video sharing social network TikTok to express their concerns. To allay their fears, Ms. Rachada stated that the vaccine met global manufacturing standards and was approved for the use by both the World Health Organization and Thailand's Food and Drug Administration. Although Pfizer vaccine may cause some unpleasant side effects such as muscle ache, tiredness, and nausea, as well as conditions such as myocarditis, she believes the benefits in preventing or reducing severe infection and hospitalization outweigh the risks. Many countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, Japan, Spain, and Norway, have begun to vaccinate their children. According to Ms. Rachada, Pfizer BioNTech is seeking approval from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to use its vaccine on children aged 5 to 11. Meanwhile, the Department of Health, or DOH, has advised schools to conduct antigen testing on a regular basis once the school year begins and students return to class. Sarawut Bunsuk, Deputy Director General of the Department of Health, stated that 68 schools nationwide have piloted safety zones in the last 2 to 3 months, and that rigorous measures are creating a COVID-free environment in schools. One measure required that businesses and shops within 10 meters of a school fence be evaluated for COVID-19 risk. In addition, classes must have maximum of 25 students, and at least 85% of teachers and non-teaching staff must be fully vaccinated. According to the department, between June 14 and September 30, 222,118 or 188 children under the age of 9 were infected across the country. There were 60,928 under the age of 6, 65,889 between the ages of 7 and 12, and 95,371 between the ages of 13 and 19. And for a quick update, Thailand recorded 60 new COVID-19 fatalities and 10,035 new cases in the previous 24 hours, according to the Public Health Ministry on Monday morning. There were 9,955 cases in the general population and 80 cases among inmates in prison. After recovering from the coronavirus, 10,590 COVID-19 patients were discharged from hospitals on Sunday. This update is from Bangkok Post. Back to you, Gila.
Thank you so much for that update, Veronica, and you stay safe.
Thank you, and likewise, reporting live from Thailand, I am Veronica Carino, and we live in interesting times.
Back here in the country, Metro Manila may see a decrease of as low as 1,000 in the average daily new case of COVID-19 by November this year if the region maintains the downward trend in its case count. Here's USEC Maria Rosario Vergere from the Department of Health. Let's listen in.
So if we will look at our daily cases, we will be averaging about 1,100 cases by November 15, daily cases dito sa National Capital Region. Kung magtutuloy-tuloy po yan at may pagpapatuloy po natin ang pagkontrol nitong transmission ng sakit na ito, sana po tayo po ay lahat ay nag-hope that by Christmas time, magkakaroon po tayo na mas maluwag na classification and restriction sa ating mga kababayan. But looking at the case data right now, tinitignan po natin at kung mauumpisahan na rin po natin ang pagbabakuna, umpisahan natin ng those with comorbidity sa mga kabataan, kung atin pong maitutuloy-tuloy at mag-stabilize ang ating supplies, meron naman hong posibilidad.
Now, Vergere also noted that the NCR has posted a negative 2-week growth rate. Active cases in Metro Manila were at 24,400. This is as of Friday at 20 in its bulletin. And to reiterate, the health official said if the capital continues to keep the downward trend and control the transmission of the COVID-19, residents may experience a more relaxed quarantine restrictions by December 25. Metro Manila was placed under Alert Level 4 from September 16 to October 15, allowing establishments like restaurants, barbershops, hair spas, and nail spas, and even beauty salons to operate for up to 30% of their outdoor capacity. They can also operate indoors for up to 20% capacity, but exclusive for persons fully protected against COVID-19. Vergere also said the DOH and the Pandemic Task Force are already discussing the possibility of expanding the implementation of the COVID-19 alert level system outside Metro Manila.
of the more than 1.8 million doses of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines donated by the United States government through the COVAX facility arrived Sunday afternoon at Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 3, a boost to the government's target to acquire a total of 100 million doses by the end of this month. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. was accompanied by U.S. Embassy in Manila Chargé d'Affaires Heather Variava in welcoming the 918,450 doses which arrived via Emirates flight EK332 at about 4 p.m. Let's watch this.
We're really thanking the U.S. government for their act of generosity and compassion for the Philippines. And we are very thankful that October they have already roll up a lot of vaccines for the deliveries.
We're really proud to be part of this effort here in the Philippines to vaccinate the Filipino people, including soon teenagers and children, so we can get them back to school. And it's really glad to see how well, and we thank Secretary Galvez and the task force, Ministry of Health, UNICEF, Department of Health, for their cooperation and support in this collective effort.
More than 14.2 million doses were delivered to the Philippines in the first week of October, with average daily arrivals hitting 1.5 million doses. Galvez urged local government units, or LGUs, to be more creative and closely work with stakeholders to ramp up their rollout. Galvez also said LGUs should take the lead in initiating partnerships with different agencies, as well as the private sector, in order to get the COVID-19 jab into the arms of more people.
In the Philippines, Tropical Storm Maring has decelerated, but some areas in Luzon are still under tropical cyclone wind signal, or signal number 2, according to Pag-asa. In its 8 a.m. bulletin, Pag-asa said Maring is now approaching the Luzon Strait. It was last tracked 325 kilometers east of Apari, Cagayan, moving west-northwestward at 15 kilometers per hour. Maring packs maximum sustained winds of 85 kilometers per hour near the center and gusts of up to 105 kilometers per hour. Signal number 2 has been hoisted over Batanes, Cagayan, including Babuyan Islands, the northern portion of Isabela, Apayao, Kalinga, Mountain Province, Abra, Ilocos Norte, and Ilocos Sur. Damaging gale force to storm force winds will prevail in these areas. Meanwhile, strong winds will be experienced over areas under signal number 1. The rest of Isabela, Nueva Vizcaya, Quirino, Ifugao, Benguet, La Union, Pangasinan, Aurora, Nueva Ecija, Tarlac, Zambales, Pampanga, Bulacan, the northern portion of Bataan, including Polillo Islands, and Calaguas Islands. Pag-asa expects moderate to heavy, with at times intense rains over Batanes, Cagayan, including Babuyan Islands, Cordillera Administrative Region, and Ilocos Region. Light to moderate with at times heavy rains are likely over central Luzon and the rest of Cagayan Valley. Scattered flash floods and rain-induced landslides are possible, especially in areas highly susceptible to these hazards. The southwest monsoon, enhanced by Maring, may bring rains over western Visayas, Zamboanga, Peninsula, Palawan, and Occidental Mindoro.
Malaysia eased domestic and international travel curbs on Sunday for those fully vaccinated against the coronavirus, as the fierce outbreak slows and inoculation rates rise. The Southeast Asian nation had faced its worst COVID-19 wave in recent months, prompting authorities to impose a tough nationwide lockdown. But with case numbers falling and the inoculation rollout picking up speed, authorities began lifting curbs, with businesses allowed to reopen and workers slowly returning to offices. In a televised address on Sunday, Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaqub announced fully inoculated people can move freely within the country, as well as fly overseas without special permission. Malaysians had been prohibited from traveling between the country's different states since January, apart from in exceptional circumstances. Overseas travel had only been allowed for those who got special permission by applying through an official system. While this requirement is being dropped, returning travelers will still need to undergo quarantine. The country of 32 million has recorded over 2.3 million cases and 27,000 deaths.
Meanwhile, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte has made up her mind not to join the 2022 presidential race, that according to President Duterte. In an interview over SMNI News Channel on Saturday, the president discounted the possibility that his daughter would heed her supporters' clamor to seek the presidency. Inday is indefinitely out, as she has said earlier, and for the oft-repeated statements in so many, I think, interviews, she'd always maintained that she's not running. She was just true to her words, the president said. Despite Sara's decision to finish her last term as mayor, President Duterte said her daughter could still seek a higher government post in the future. President Duterte said Inday is young and there will always be some opportunities in the future for her. Not necessarily the presidency, but one of those options in life, especially if you think of the imponderables of life. And I quote, hindi talaga natin malaman. We really don't know. Sara filled her COC to run for her third term as mayor of Davao City on Wednesday. On Saturday night, the office of the city mayor announced that Sara tested positive for COVID-19 with mild symptoms. In a Facebook post, it said Sara is currently in isolation, asking for complete privacy at this time, and respectfully urged the public to refrain from sending tokens for well wishes.
Meanwhile, Singapore has announced it is easing coronavirus lockdown restrictions and will allow quarantine-free travel from a number of nations. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong said it was time to press on with the strategy of living with COVID-19. Let's watch this.
Yet, Singapore cannot stay locked down and closed off indefinitely. It would not work, and it would be very costly. Each time we tighten up, businesses are further disrupted. Workers lose jobs. Children are deprived of a proper childhood and school life. Families are separated for even longer, especially families with loved ones overseas and extended families who've not been able to come together. We should respect COVID-19, but we must not be paralyzed by fear. Let us go about our daily activities as normally as possible, taking necessary precautions and complying with SMMs. In particular, we must continue to reopen our borders safely. Companies and investors need to carry out regional and global business from Singapore. We have started vaccinated travel lanes with Germany and Brunei, and just announced another with South Korea. These pilot projects have shown it is possible for vaccinated persons to travel safely while letting in very few COVID-19 positive cases. We are implementing more such arrangements, especially with countries whose COVID situations are stable. This will keep us connected to global supply chains and help to preserve Singapore's hub status.
According to BBC, he said so-called vaccinated travel lanes with Germany and Brunei had been successful and would be extended to 9 other countries. Singapore had very tight restrictions in place to tackle the pandemic. COVID-19 related deaths are very low, but the lockdown has had an impact on the Southeast Asian islands' status as a business and aviation hub. Stay tuned for more news. We'll be back after this short break.
Enjoy your favorite OPM hits as we play them on air and online. From music videos,
Yeah, we gonna go up. Ibibigay ko ang aking puso. Iyong tingin pa lang ako ay natunaw na.
to entertaining live and home performances on your favorite Pinoy artists.
Now every step we take, boundary we break. There's nothing we can do. Pakinggan mo ang aking sigaw sa dalaw ng buwan.
Mag-hashtag Soundtrip and Chill kasama ang barkada ng Letters and Music. Balikan ang mga natatanging performances ng inyong favorite OPM artist sa Letters and Music Rewind. 4 p.m. mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes. Mga request at new performances naman ang bibida sa Letters and Music tuwing Sabado at Linggo. 1 p.m. Lahat ng yan dito lang sa Net 25.
Ito ang tahanan. Ikaw, ako, tayo. Sama-sama, nagtutulungan, nagdadamayan, nagmamahalan. Bitbit ang mga impormasyon pang pamilya, pang sambahayan. Kasama ninyo para sa masaya at makabuluhang kakwentuhan sa umaga. Ito ang tahanan.
Ang resolusyon na ito ng IATF ay pinagtibay din ng ating Pangulo.
Paano ba natin mapapanatili ang ating pagiging malikhain?
Taong 1913, na-invento ni Harry Burley ang stainless steel.
Nako, bago tayo magbabakuna, kailangan maaliw namin kayo kasi alam namin yung iba, afraid magbabakuna.
Itong mga...
Mula sa Net 25, Radyo Agila, araw-araw. Tara na all!
Ikaw, ako, tayo.
Welcome back. Facebook on Friday said users around the world again had problems accessing the services for hours due to a tweak of its system just days after a massive outage caused in a similar fashion. Earlier, an IT security expert said it didn't appear that Facebook thought through this kind of situation. Take a look.
Not only were their properties offline, their ability to respond and do PR and do some of the other things you would do in a major incident like this were also impacted, and they didn't natively have a backup plan. When something like this happens, you kind of know what your backup, you need to know what your backup plan is instead of making it up on the fly. And it didn't appear that Facebook fully thought through this kind of a situation. For these kind of outages, it's usually some form of human error combined with a lack of a technical control to prevent that kind of error creating this kind of major failure. There's a couple of very old protocols that basically govern how the internet works. And minor mistakes can have catastrophic impacts if people don't know what they're doing. Even random typos could just blow things up in unexpected ways.
Website Trouble Tracker Down Detector showed spikes in reports of problems accessing or using Facebook and its photocentric Instagram network, as well as Messenger and WhatsApp starting about 3 hours earlier. Facebook attributed the trouble to a configuration change at its computing platform and said that it affected users of the social network and Instagram, Messenger, and Workplace globally. People flocked to Twitter to voice frustration. What's up with Instagram read a tweet that included a picture of cartoon character Bart Simpson sitting in a corner in apparent punishment. It's not even 4 days and it's already down again. Hundreds of millions of people were unable to access Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp for more than 6 hours last Monday, underscoring the world's reliance on platforms owned by the Silicon Valley giant. Cyber experts think that problem boiled down to something called BGP, or Border Gateway Protocol, the system the internet uses to pick the quickest route to move packets of information around. Sammy Slim of data center company Telehouse compared BGP to the internet equivalent of air traffic control. The outage on Friday was not related to the one earlier in the week, according to Facebook. Experts say Facebook's technical infrastructure is unusually reliant on its own systems.
Did you know that ASEAN Customs Transit System, or ACTS, marks the biggest investment ASEAN has made to date in the implementation of economic integration in the region? The ACTS links all customs offices in each ASEAN member state through a secure network, enabling customs officers in each country to exchange information on the goods in transit in real time. Overall, this impactful system makes trade between the ASEAN countries more seamless. Let's take a look.
ASEAN, a big expanding market. ASEAN and the EU share common objectives for economic integration and free trade. The ASEAN Economic Community is a reality, driving forwards a single market and a production base, and connecting a highly competitive region, fully integrated with the global economy. ASEAN acts as a focus for the free movement of goods, services, and investments. Together, the 10 member states generated $3 trillion in 2018, making ASEAN the 5th largest economy in the world. With the highest potential growth globally, ASEAN is set to be the world's 4th largest economy by 2050. The ASEAN Customs Transit System, or ACTS, creates a trade facilitation platform for the free movement of goods in the region. Developed jointly by ASEAN and the European Union, ACTS removes the need for multiple customs declarations at borders. ACTS requires only one electronic declaration, one guarantee, and one truck for the entire journey. This means faster, more reliable on-time deliveries and lower transport costs, backed by state-of-the-art tracking and monitoring capabilities. ACTS ensures the safety and security of society, protecting public revenues and protecting public values. Regional integration and sustainable growth are values shared by ASEAN and the European Union. Driving towards the ASEAN Community Vision 2025, ACTS will play a key role in building the regional economy, taking the single market to the next level.
Okay, finally in our news, a Thai restaurant has taken dining with a water view to the next level. Its customers perch precariously on wooden stools as murky brown floodwater laps at their tables. Take a look.
แต่พอวิกฤตมันเกิดขึ้นน้ำท่วมเราก็เลยจะปิดร้านแต่ปรากฏว่าวันนั้นมันเป็นความบังเอิญที่น้ำมันขึ้นโดยเราไม่รู้ตัวแล้วลูกค้ามาทานลูกค้าก็บอกว่ามันก็รับได้ลูกค้าก็ไม่กลับมันก็เลยกลายเป็นเสน่ห์ขึ้นมาแล้วเป็นการพูดต่อไปต่อกันไปเรื่อยๆนะครับว่าเรามี กันกินอาหารอยู่บนน้ำจริงๆก็ถือว่าเป็นวิกฤตที่สุดท้ายคือกลายโอกาสที่ลูกค้าเมตตาลูกค้าชอบไปโดนความรู้สึกกับคนที่มาใช้บริการพอดี ซึ่งมันอาจจะเป็นเพราะว่ามันหลังจากโควิดมา2เดือนมันก็เลยกลายเป็นว่าลูกค้าก็โหยหาบรรยากาศที่ดีอาหารที่อร่อย
ก็ดีครับเพราะว่าอย่างช่วงนี้มันเศรษฐกิจมันก็ไม่ดีนะอะไรก็ค่อยดีอะไรเงี้ยอันนี้ก็ถือว่าเป็นแบบไอเดียที่แบบที่ดีอย่างหนึ่งอ่ะพลิกวิกฤตเป็นโอกาสอะไรเงี้ย
ตอนแรกก็กังวลว่าแบบมันจะเป็นอะไรหรือเปล่าเนี่ยครับแต่พอได้มาแบบนั่งทานจริงก็รู้สึกว่าแฮปปี้ดีครับโอเคมาลองน้ำท่วมแล้วก็อยากมาให้เขากินไปได้น้ำไป
Tropical storm Dianmu and heavy monsoon rains have caused flooding in 33 Thai provinces, inundating more than 300,000 households and claiming 9 lives. Now, riverside areas of Bangkok are bracing for flooding in the coming days, and more storms are expected to hit the kingdom this week and next week. But the crisis has been a boon for the Chao Phraya Antique Cafe in Non Taburi, part of the vast sprawl of Bangkok, upriver from the city center. Now, in the afternoons and evenings, the restaurant is full of diners munching miangkam, a fiery leaf-wrapped appetizer, giggling and jumping on their seats as boats and rice barges cruise past the Chao Phraya River, sending waves of caramel-colored water towards them. Now, restaurants in Bangkok and other hotspots yo-yoed in and out of restrictions in in-house dining this year as a deadly third wave of coronavirus infections took hold. Thai authorities allowed in-house dining to resume in September as part of an easing of restrictions as new cases fell to around 10,000 a day from a peak of 23,000 in August. An estimated 50,000 restaurants have shut down permanently, according to the Thai Restaurant Association. And the Tiriporn is grateful he can keep his doors open. When flooding began, owner Tiriporn Juti Manon intended to close the restaurant. But soon now, he realized that customers did not actually mind being surrounded by water. Have you been there, Gila?
No, Alma, and I'm not really sure if I'm going to do
If you want to go?
No.
Well, let me know if you do. And
yeah, I will. I will take a video, but I hope not. I hope not. I'm scared.
Okay. Too scary.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Gila, for keeping me company today. Thank you.
You're very much also welcome, Alma. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. And stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Gila Pablo, and we live in interesting times.
And that's it for today's broadcast on ASEAN in Focus. We'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.